All right. Hello, hello. Let's get this show going. Good morning. Happy Tuesday. Sorry, I was having a little bit of difficulty, as always, trying to get OBS to behave, but that was more on me than anything else. So, I have a busy day today because I only have 2 days left in order to complete this game. And I still have a lot of work to do, because of course, as always, I have picked a project that is too difficult to build in the set amount of time that I've given it, but that's fine. So I'm going to take a little recap, because I haven't streamed since last week. Give me a second while I clean up my menus off screen here. And where is Chrome? So let's do a little recap, and I'm going to show you, I'm sorry, I'm trying to find this link, CodePen. I will show you this little project that I have been working on the other day, just to sort of help me visualize what is going on under the hood. Where is my, I think I might have to log in. Here we go. Where is Chrome? So, I created this little CodePen yesterday. Let me see if I can just find my password. Ugh, of course, now I had to enter my password into everything, because I had to restart my computer. I was having this weird issue for the past couple of days where the mouse wasn't moving over to my PC the way that it should, and because of that I decided to restart everything, and that means that everything is broken at the moment. Let's try to find the password for the password manager, and this is CodePen, and let's copy this guy over here. See, this will let me log in. Yeah, whatever, save it. Okay, so what I had built yesterday, because I didn't have a lot of time to really work on this, what I built yesterday was this tool here to go through and identify all of the patterns. And if you remember back to here, let's pull up a visual aid, platform patterns. I believe it's this. All right. So what I was trying to do originally was I was trying to create these patterns in order to come up with a way of saving the tile map. And I have some good ideas and I have some not so great ideas about how to re-implement this. I have a good chunk of the code actually just working in GB Studio right now. So if I rerun the project, I spent a good amount of time off camera refactoring the C code, breaking them up into their own little projects or into their own little files, adding some custom events that I can better control the tile editor. So when we come down to here to paint, I now have some custom things here called paint tile, which we had before. I've updated the code display, which will update the display on the top, which is not fully working yet. And then we have this this other thing called draw segments. I was trying to figure out how to pass in variables, but I wasn't having much success. Also, let's open GitHub, and I want to find whatever the Reaper I know I have two of these. I think it's meta. Nope, that's not it. I got to delete that one. I think I just saved it all back to here. And the reason I was opening this up is that I have a bunch of issues and we're just going to keep working through them like this. So as you can see, as I come into here and I hit the start menu, I now go into the edit mode. And as I do this, I will get a hex value. So the way the hex value works is that the first character, which in this case is 6, is the pattern ID, and then the other number, which is a 0, and it could be 0, 1 through 3, 0 through 3, is the flag on how to flip that pattern when I want to recreate it. So if we come back over to this here, I can already see that there is a problem here. Let me go back to 5. Yeah, for some reason now it's not giving me my... I've been having such a tough time with ChatGPT the past couple of days. This has been really broken. Does this keep track of versions? Autosave. Is there a way of going back through pen details? I might have to go dig the code up. Long story short is that I actually had this code working on, let me go see if I can tell ChatGPT to stop being... The vertical, flip, alternative patterns to the platforms. All right, I might have to go back and find, it was giving me a whole bunch of garbage code yesterday, and this is just one of these things that I would prefer. Like, I mean, I've built a lot of tools like this. I actually started building out a level editor early on when I was just sort of prototyping out what I wanted to do before doing it at the Game Boy. But long story short is that there are alternate patterns here that it needs to identify. And the way that it works is that I have two of these tools. The first one is going to be for the platforms. And I set this to 5 because I have some ideas around. If I set this pattern back to 6, it winds up giving me, so hex ends at F, right? And then I have it now going to all the way over to the end. So then there's 22 patterns here. Technically 23 because the first one is 0. And then if I come back here and I do enemies, these are all the patterns that we can create for different types of enemies. And the enemies have some specific rules. They have to be on a platform. They can only be 2 apart. They can't be on top of each other or next to each other. And what I've been noticing is that while this is good, we'll go back to the platform for a second. Let's see if it actually like fixed this code. Show alternate. Is it just not doing anything? No, I don't want to see the page's source code. I want to see the... Where do I go to see the debug? Inspect. Console. You don't appear to be doing anything, huh? Let me see if I switch between these. This is what I'm saying. ChatGPT today is just creating really, really bad, like whatever its responses are, it's garbage. So we're gonna have a tough day trying to rely on that. All right, while it figures this out, I'm gonna try to go back and find an earlier version and see which version of this actually works. Oh, here we go. I think this is it. It just doesn't have any of the... No, this is way too early. Let's try this version. Yeah, these are all really old versions. They're not actually generating out. Ugh. It's trying to like render out something at the same time as well. I'm trying to go back through its history. These were too early tests. Let's try this version real quick. We're getting closer. So here what you could see is that I'm going through and identifying the patterns, and there's now 4 variations to each pattern. So, this is such a hot mess right now. Why is the ID 37? Man, it was so bad yesterday. Like, whatever was generating it was just so frustrating. Let's see if we can get this. Let's see what it just generated out now. I don't know why the second iteration is in red. But here are the enemies. The enemies, those are the base patterns. These are the alternatives. Okay, let me tell Chet. Let's actually, I'll just do this all in here so you guys can see what's going on. Cool, I'm not logged in. So, oh, I am. Or I'm not. Yep, I am. I want, here we go. Okay, so I was in the process of editing this. Can you make all the patterns for platforms green? Oh my god, this is what's happening. ChatGPT is just completely borked today. Which is going to make it a little tough for some of this C stuff that I don't really understand how to do. And why can't I get more space here? Let's retry. Let's restart. Come on, ChatGPT, you can do it. All right, so while we wait for this thing to figure out what it's doing, I was going to show, so what I need to do now is I need to come in here and I need to clean up the patterns in the code. But before I did all that, I wanted to run through and do all these calculations ahead of time, because one of the things I was seeing is that if I went down to 5, so the real challenge of what I'm trying to figure out here is that if I want to save this map, and so the map is 20 tiles wide by 10 tiles high. So originally my plan was to do this as patterns of 6, and let me see if I can open up the editor and you'll get a sense of what I'm talking about here. If I could just find the right layers. Okay, I was trying to figure out some sort of system like this, but then that wasn't really working because I was losing these 2 tiles on the end. Then I shifted it over one so I wouldn't keep track of the tile on the left and the tile on the right. But that has some flaws too. And the reason why I was breaking these up into 6x2s is that there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. That means that the level would be 15 characters, right? Just for the core level. Now, what winds up happening is that if we come back over here to the platform, I'm going to see if I can copy in this code. Whoops. And let's see if this fixes the issue. Yeah, look, it hasn't. Look at how slow ChatGPT is going today. This is going to be a long, rough day. Cool. And all it did was it literally. All I did was I told it to make the platforms green, not red, And look at what it gave me back. It gave me back completely wrong patterns now. So I just don't have the patience for this today. Let's save. Let's get out of this stupid tool. To just make sure all pattern variations are green. Don't change any other code logic. All right, let's see if we can get this to, oh my God. I'm so glad I pay a huge amount of money every month to ChatGPT for this just not to work right now. YouTube mod. All right, I have a feeling it's just gonna crap out again. Nope. All right, it's actually sort of working. So long story short is so I was talking about these these patterns, right? Let's let ChatGPT do its thing off to the side. What I started to realize was that if I drop this down to 5 patterns, or if I dropped it down to 5 by 2, we actually get only 13 patterns. And what this is helpful for is that if you look, we're going here from 9, A, B, C, D. That means we have E and F. We have 2 extra hex characters for the patterns. And why this is important is that this is the challenge in trying to figure this out. It's either we have a longer code with less characters to enter, or a shorter code with longer characters to enter. And I haven't yet decided on what I think, but if I come back here and I come to the editor and I take a look at how I had this broken up, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so this gets us to 20 right here, and this is the problem I'm having right now, is that if I dump this down to 5, I'll actually get full coverage of the map, but I'll only be able to end right here, and that gives me 1, 2, 3, that gives me 4 hex values, or that gives me 4 bytes left to calculate the start position, which is going to be a single byte, I think, enemies, and anything else that we need in here. So the other thing I was trying to figure out, and this comes down to this one right here, is that if we go to enemies, now you can see these are all the patterns you can have for enemies. And what I haven't been able to figure out, or at least I haven't sat down and thought about, is how do we handle a situation where, let's say there are, the maximum enemies you can have are 6, right? And then each one of these enemies needs to be a block of code. So that means that we have to reserve 6 characters just for enemies. Even if an enemy is not being used, we want to know what the pattern is and the location of that enemy, and also the flip. So that's a lot. That's a lot of information to keep track of. Let's see if this fixed at least the platform code for right now. Okay, I copied in the wrong thing. Let me undo that. And then let's just save this because it actually works right now. And now we'll paste in this new one. Oh, look, it still hasn't oh my God. I don't know what's going on with ChatGPT, but it is broken today. Look, it didn't even do anything. It didn't even change the one thing I asked it to do. I'm just looking in here to see. That's green. I'm just trying to see where filled. Oh, look, it won't even iterate through here. What is going on? How can ChatGPT be this broken today? Create table. I'm just trying to think of like what I want to do here, because it's just going to be a rough day without ChatGPT actually working. Most of it was, as much as I remember enough C to like understand what's going on. I haven't really written C in a very long time, so I'd have to say I'm quasi-dependent on it. But maybe today is the day that I just cancel my subscription to ChatGPT and do something else. I want to find the places where this is being used. And if cell class equals, let's try to just do this real quick and see if this fixes it. It may just make all the enemies green, but whatever. Like, it's just driving me nuts that it can't figure out how to do. Yeah, all the enemies are green now because it lost its ability to toggle through. Whatever, we'll just go with this for right now. Let's see if we can get ChatGPT to do one last thing before it just completely like craps out on us. I've reverted the code back to making all the patterns green. Now I want you to add a flag that checks to see if we are showing enemy patterns and make them red. All platform patterns should be green. Do not break or change any other code. Let's see what it comes up with. Okay, so while it does this, I think this is really the question now that I need to figure out is, do we want to go with 5 or 6 patterns? I think I think I'm leaning towards 5, because even though, well, it's funny, they grow like exponentially large. Like if I tried to do 10, you wind up with 201 patterns. And if I make this 4, you end up with a shorter amount. I almost had this idea of whether I could do the patterns like this, where they were just half of a pattern and then flip them and add another byte. Because technically the patterns are each bit 2, 4, 8, that's 3 bits. And then 2 bits for flip, so it's 3, 4, 5, 6 for mirror. That gets me down to 6 bits, maybe 7 bits. But this would only work like really if I was going to do something where there may be. I wonder if there's another way of. All right, we'll roll the dice with ChatGPT and try to figure this out today, because let me see if I can just get. Oh, it's still rendering. Whoa, come on, man. This is also a reminder that I need to finish setting up my server and all my local LLMs, because I'm just so tired of dealing with, one, paying for all this stuff, especially on days like this when it's not working and I'm relying on it to work, and two, I just want to have more control over my dev environment and my tools. All right, so let's copy this out. We'll paste this in and we'll see if this actually works. All right, enemies now. Perfect. Okay. Now I want to see the array. Let me actually pull out the array here so I can show it exactly what I'm looking for. Want you to add a preview for the array of pattern data I can copy and paste into my C plugin. So what I wanted to do now is that once it's done generating all this out, I just wanted to give me a array that I can just copy into my code, because what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to go through here. I'm going to get rid of this and start cleaning up this logic, because right now it's only doing some very basic pattern logic. What I want to do is I want to get it to where as soon as I draw a platform in the tile map editor, it will show me the same pattern value as my predictive table. So let's check in on ChatGPT and see what it has been able to do. I'm not convinced it actually did anything, but let's see. Maybe I'll be pleasantly surprised. Nope, it didn't do anything. Where? Oh, this was an interesting one. This one's completely broken. I would have to like, I think I'd have to go back and redo it. What I was trying to figure out is how many patterns would there be if you included enemies, but the enemy variations adds up to 167, although I'm pretty convinced that it's not actually, it's not doing this correctly. If we made it 5, I wonder what that lowers that down to. 69. That's a lot of characters to enter for a code, and I wonder if there are a lot of patterns that are not valid here. Hold on, what did it do? Wait, and why did it? What is going on today? I want you to generate out the final array. I need to put all the patterns back into my C plugin, formatted like this, with comments on each set of patterns, the pattern ID in hex. Zero through K. Yeah, we'll just do it like this. Where was my C code? And we'll come back into here. Let's give it this. I'm just going to copy this as a backup in case it actually decides to not do it again. So, while it figures out what it's doing, which is not promising at all right now, how long it's taking. Wonder if there's a Chat GPT outage today. Live updates on massive OpenAI outages. It's funny, everyone becomes so dependent on these things, and then when they go down, it's everything breaks. Man, must be a rough day over at OpenAI for those who are... Wait, here's your generated... What are you doing? I wanted this added to the pattern generator. It literally gave me back the same thing. E, 1 through E. Yeah, what did it even do here? I wanted this added to the pattern generator so that it will automatically build the array of patterns I need in my code. I want it to include all 4 variations and be based on the platforms that are generated on the page. On the patterns that are generated on the page. So let's see here. We'll rerun this. Maybe what we'll do is if ChatGPT is going to continue to be a big pain, what I'll probably do is I'll just switch over to the actual game logic and finish up that stuff, because I also need to do that too. This tile map editor has been consuming a lot of my time. Oops, I don't want to. When it works, it's great. Is this still trying to figure itself out? All right, so while it does this, let's go in, and I'm going to go into the sprites, and we're going to create our enemy walker. And I think he's set up. There should be a death state that we need. And his hitbox needs to be 8 by 8. And we also need to offset it by 4 so that we have it in the center. So one of the reasons why one of the reasons why we're doing this sprite like this, where it's a 16 by 16 sprite versus the 8 by 8 that it really is because when we want this guy to flip, he needs to be centered so that it doesn't look really jarring, or that we don't have to do any additional math to like move him back over. So we have, let me rename this state to death. We have our default state here for moving. We also need to create the correct, we need to assign the correct palette. And let's go back to our game world. So I don't really have any enemies anywhere. Let's see, what can we do? I don't know what this music is either. All right, we'll copy this over. Let's see if this actually has gotten us a little further into what I needed. Oh my God. I may like just have to... What are you doing? And take each set that is generated and create the array I need for my plugin. Look at what it's doing here. Pattern 1, pattern 2. Like, I don't understand why it has so few patterns. 5. I don't know why it's not letting me paste that either. What's going on today? I guess nothing wants to work. This might have something to do more with my this problem might be more with the fact that I'm sharing my mouse with my PC. Although I don't know where any of these... Oh my God, I just don't have the patience today for this. All right. Definitely didn't want edge. All right, forget it. I don't... All right. Oh my God, today's not working out so well already this early. Let me have it redo. Simply add the generated array to the end of the page after rendering out all of the patterns. Well, its UI is utterly broken too, so that's interesting. Is this even doing anything? Or is it just like completely borked? Oh. Alright, I don't care anymore. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put this stuff on hold, and we're just going to go in and actually just build out the rest of the game. And then I'll just deal with the tile map editor later. So I need to go in and let's open up the meta tile level. And I'm just going to create a new platform over here. Actually, we're going to create a couple different platforms because we're going to build out the logic in order to test the... we want to make sure that the enemy can walk correctly on the platforms. And I need to find the Editor, I need, where's the metadata? Or open, let's go up to assets. Nope, it's in assets here. Reaper Boy, editor, meta tile, tile set, meta tiles. Here we go. All right, I was just gonna pull out this guy. Someone just messaged me. Okay, so let's copy this out here. And then what we're going to do is we'll just use it so that I can have some other platforms. And we'll just move this guy over to here. And the other thing I just wanted to get was editor, the tiles. I was going to just pull out this for right now. And I'm just going to put it there. Because basically this is going to be the exit for the level. I'm going to have the tile map editor actually draw this in. But for right now, we're just going to use it as is. And let's come back into here. And so now if we come and we reload the assets, we should now see our map. And then we're going to add a new actor. We're going to put him right here, and we are going to make this an enemy walker, which should not be like this. And let's copy and paste another one over here, and we'll make it an enemy walker as well. That's not reassuring that these are not rendering correctly. All right, so if you're just tuning in, ChatGPT is completely borked. So I'm just going in and trying to do some, the actual rest of the game logic until I can get back to using ChatGPT for some of the more complicated stuff that's hard for me to do on my own. I don't know why this is not rendering correctly. If we hit play, we have our guy. We have our death animation. I guess idle up is this, and idle down. Do we need any of this stuff? Is that what's holding it up from generating out the enemies? All right, so that's interesting. Now, I wonder why the idle right, idle up, idle... I think there was just a different fixed direction plus movement. One of these... Four directions. It's supposed to be running this. It's interesting there. Oh, I see why. The problem was that they were all pointed down. So that's an important thing to sort of keep track of, is that when you create these new actors, since they were all pointed down, they were using a tile sheet that really didn't, I didn't really have set up. So now, So now what's going to happen is, and now we have our enemies, and we got to go back and we have to start moving them around. I'm trying to debate whether I want to go back into the old code that I used or if I want to just rewrite this now from scratch. But let's just try to do, I'm going to try to do this off the top of my head and see what script enemy move. And what we're going to do for right now is that on its update, we are going to call script, and we're going to look for script enemy move. And in script enemy move, what I wanted to do was I just wanted to test out a couple of things. Actor move. This is P. Enemy actor. So what we can do is there's a couple different ways that we can do this. So I'm trying to rethink how I had this before, and I think what I really would like to do is I would like the I would like it that when the enemy wakes up, it looks below and it tries to figure out the full width of the platform it needs to walk, and then it sets up the start and the end position, and then all we need to do after that is just track, and we can just tell the actor to move to the the right position. When it gets to the right position, flip and move to the left position. But what we don't have to do is we won't have to tell it every single frame to move forward. And I think this was part of the performance issue I was running into when I started building the early prototype. So let's do it this way. What we'll do is there will be a let's see, when this thing moves, enemy, let's do another script enemy init. So when this starts, what we want to do is set a well, let's set the actor, well, let's you want to save actor there's store actor position in variables, right? And what we need is a parameter start x, and this other variable is going to be p start underscore y, and we're going to pass in actor, and that is going to be p underscore enemy underscore actor. And the reason for doing this is that on interact on init, we're going to call a script, and we're going to call enemy init, and we're going to pass in a local variable 0, a local variable 1, and the actor itself. And we're going to call this local start x, and we're going to call this local start y. And the reason why we're going to use local is that we're just going to try to keep this self-contained into the enemy instead of me having to create a whole bunch of different variables, like global variables for each of the enemies. I wanted to try to get it to where no matter how many enemies we create, they just automatically configure themselves and go. So, because in the previous version, what I wound up having to do was I had one main loop that just went through and moved the enemies every frame. And the problem with that is that it just was really hard to maintain. And then every enemy I added, I had to start adding in new global variables for its X position, its Y position, its end, and blah, 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 blah. So what we're going to do now is I want to write one other script. And what I want this script to do is script find platform edges. We'll call it that. And in essence, what we're going to do is we're going to need to take in the platform. We need to look at the tile below the enemy, right? So what we're going to do is in the meta tiles is a get meta tile position at a certain place. And what I want to do is make this a variable, and we'll make this a variable as well. And what we're going to pass in, this is actually going to be variable B, is that we're going to pass in the, this is a parameter P, start X, and P start Y. Now, what we're going to do here is that we're going to take these variables, we're going to bring these variables in, and then we're going to pass in one other thing, which we're going to do P tile ID. And this we're going to want to run on a loop, because the idea being that we want to go, so let's do this. We're going to insert event before. We're going to set I'm just trying to think if how we should pass around the player's position. I don't think it matters. I think what we can do is we can take the set variable to value, or actually, you know what we need to do? Let's do this. Let's delete and math add 1. So what we're going to do here is we're going to actually take the player's start, or the monster's start Y position, and then we're going to take a value 1 down, and then we're going to figure out the tile ID. Now I'm going to do this here as a variable 11 so that this is global, because I want to see what actually happens. And when we do the init, we're going to call script, and we want enemy find platform edges, and we're going to pass in the start X position and the start Y position. So if we do this, I want to see that a variable gets returned for one of these tiles. And I'm going to look at since there's 2 enemies. Whoa, look at him go. I have no idea where he went. All right, so he started at 3. Let me actually do this real quick. Let's go to on update. Let's disable this real quick. And I'm just going to delete this. We're going to start with 1 actor. Because what I want to see is right now, if I start this up, I want to see that he should show 0 below him, right? And we're going to mess around just a little bit right now with moving him around until we get it to the right position, so that we know what we're actually getting when we go down 1. So if we look now at variable 11, it's 3, which can't be right. Let's try it now. So something is wrong here. This should not be 3 every single time this guy gets created. So let's go back here. And what I want to look at, I don't know, can we look at local? I don't know if we can look at local variables. what we may need to do is we may just need to set these to global variables right now as we play around with it, and then move them back to local once we know that everything sort of works. So yeah, I don't think there's a... I'm just looking to see if there's any local variables in this. Set to position. Oh, here we go. S1A start X, S1AL start Y. So looks okay. So we can find these local positions. I should have like actually memorized or tried to remember what that was. But when we start it over again, we'll see that it should give us a new position. So let's favorite this. Let's favorite this. And let's just go to watched, and I'm going to get rid of selector X, selector Y, this mode, and this mode. All right, so we're at 11:17. If we move it over here, we'll just move it over 11:17. Let's see where we go to from 11:17. If you're just tuning in, I'm due to some technical difficulties with ChatGPT being completely down, I'm not able to work on some of the C code, so I'm just working on the logic now for my enemies, which honestly is something I needed to be doing anyways. All right, so you can see here now we moved it around. What I'm trying to look for right now are these local variables, and I'm just trying to get a sense. I haven't used this debugger much, and it's a new feature, so what I'm trying to figure out now is just what the best way to do this is. So, all right, I'm going to take one quick break just so I can change my desk back to sitting, and then we're going to focus solely on the logic for the enemies. I will be right back. I don't know why I got a mouthful of peanuts, but I will be on mute right now while I finish chewing. All right, I think I'm done chewing. I don't know. So, oops, wrong thing to hide. Let's hide my bio. All right, let's get started now. We're going to focus solely on the enemy logic. So, what I've done already is I've created this script called enemy enemy init. And what we're going to do is we're going to pass in the enemy's X and Y position. So I'm going to move the enemy back over here, because what I want to do is I want to figure out, I want to figure out which tile it's actually reading. So when we go into this script enemy init, what we're doing is we're going to store the enemy actor's position in this P, X, and PY, and then what we're going to do is we're going to try to find the platform edges. So let's see, script find platform edges, and we're going to be taking these values and increasing it by 1. And then we're setting this to a variable 11. So I don't think this actually will work the way I'm thinking it is. So let me just do this. I'm just going to make this a variable. Or actually, here's what we can do. Let's insert an event before, and we're going to set variable to value. And we should actually have 2 of these. This will be parameter start y. And actually what I want to do is increment, whoops, by 1 this. And let's delete this event. And I'm going to create 2 breakpoints. The first breakpoint I want is going to be here, and the second breakpoint I want is going to be here. Because what I'm going to look for is I want to see this P start Y, and I want to see it at its initial value, right before this gets incremented by 1. And then I want to see what is below it, making sure that it actually increments that value correctly before we start doing any of these other meta tile stuff. I will say the breakpoints and the debugger is a huge help. This stuff was so painful to do before. Oh, okay, cool. I'm like, why didn't anything work? But it did actually work. It just stopped on the initial, it stopped before anything was able to render. So, okay, now if we come back here into this, what we can see is that, and this is what I actually was looking for. It may be a little hard to see on my screen, but I'm moving my mouse over to here, and what I'm looking at in this area down here, do you guys not see my mouse at all? That's cool. I wonder what's happening there. Interesting. That must have something to do with capture mouse cursor. There we go. Hey, look, now you can see my mouse again. I use this thing called it's called NDI, and what it does is it actually just captures the raw video from my PC and broadcasts it, and then I can have OBS pick that up on my Mac and show you a pure raw output from my PC's graphics card. Anyways, as fun as that is. Okay, so what I was trying to figure out here, now that you can see my mouse, is that even though our guy is centered, his X position really is along this back half of his, the back half of his sprite. Now, I still don't I still don't get why flipping. Oh, I remember what it is. What it is that there's no way to define a center position on a sprite, so when you flip it, that it stays in the same position. So we have 2 choices here. We can either simplify this by leaving it, well, both of them are going to have their own caveats, right? The issue right now is, do we make this guy one 8x8 sprite and then deal with that when we have to flip him around? We just have to move the sprite back, move the actor back one tile and then vice versa? Or do we keep him centered, always knowing that the platform that he is under isn't always the place? Like, there's two possible places for him to be under. He's really always going to be coming from behind here, and we're going to have to move him forward. Meaning that we're going to have to move him to the end here, or almost to here before he flips, and then here, but flip is it's going to limit it. I say this, since we're building it from scratch, what I want to do is let's fix the sprite, and we're going to make him 8x8, and I'll deal with the flipping and adjusting the actor position. I'd rather deal with that than all this like off-centered math, because there's no way for us to calculate a tile in the middle. So last thing before we do this, let's just make sure this variable is working. So right now his initial position is at 13.4, and we can see this, it's a preview down here. He is at 13.4. Now, if we go to the next step in the debugger, Y position has now been incremented by 1 to 14. And what we have here is that we're now seeing that we're now on this row below him. Remember, we were on 13, we're now on 14, and now we're going to find all the tiles that exist in this platform. So let's do this, let's stop this, and now let's go and break some things. So I'm going to make this guy 8x8. It won't let me do that. It's really going to make him 8x16. We're going to set the offset to 0 so that the hitbox is there. And then let's just fix all of the animation sprites. We don't even technically need these because you're never going to see these. And then idle, this death animation will be something we'll do is that when the player jumps on the enemy, they'll get squished, and we'll just show this one off. All right, I'm going to also save my changes. And now we'll go back to our game world, and as you can see, he is now within this platform. So that means that when we get to here, when we flip him over, I wonder if maybe I was doing something wrong and maybe I can change his direction. Let's do a little bit of testing real quick. I want to do actor direction. Set actor direction. And we're going to set this to enemy actor to the left. And let's see, because maybe I just didn't know what I was doing when I originally wrote this, and there is an easier way to flip the actor. Oh, let's get past this and this. Yeah, okay. I'm not crazy. So what happened is that when we told the actor to flip, you could see that he's now one tile behind, right? So we're gonna have to keep track of what we're gonna do is whenever we flip the guy. Oh, that's interesting. One of the things I was just thinking about is that all of the enemies, I don't have a way of defining. I guess all the enemies have to go in one direction. In the tile map editor, I didn't really take into account which direction the enemies are facing, because that starts getting really complicated. All right, let's just assume that all enemies start going to the right, and what we're going to do is that when this happens, we are going to set actor position. And what we're going to do is we're going to take the property of tile X. I want to do some, let me see. So if we flip him this way, we need to subtract 1. So we're going to subtract 1. And we're going to set this property to this, and we're going to make it enemy actor 2. So now what's going to happen is that when we flip, we're going to start this script up, we're going to flip the direction to the left, and then we're going to move him over back one tile to the left. And then let's do this and this. And he's just completely gone now? Is that what we did? X tiles, enemy actor. Let me get rid of those breakpoints real quick. That was here. Remove the breakpoint, remove the breakpoint. I think there's some like weirdness that happens when you try to do like direct addition on a property. Oh, sorry, I don't have my Google chat open. Sorry about that. Back to RPG Maker these days. I realized it's too late. I haven't used RPG Maker in 100 years. Now, where did this guy go? Excuse me. That's so weird why it happens like this. Let's try this a different way. Let's do on init. Let's take the insert event before. Increment or decrement by 1 the start X position, and then let's just set these to just the oh, I see what I was doing. I think I was setting it to the this is so weird. I think I was setting it to the player's XY and not the enemy's XY. No wonder it sort of went off into Nowheresville. There we go. Okay. So this is what we need to do when we want to flip the actor. So let's insert an event before. We're going to call this group event group. Rename. We're going to flip the actor, and what we're going to do is we're going to set its direction left. And I'm actually going to copy this out. And let's just disable this. And then on the actors on update, we have this enemy script move. Let's enable this again. We're going to pass in the actor, and in the enemy move, let's we're just going to delete this for right now. Oh wait, I needed that because I don't think I can add a I can't paste an event without an event. Let's delete this event. And all right, so actor A is going to be P enemy actor. And what I want to do is let's set an event before. We're going to do a timer. And every half a second, we're just going to practice flipping this guy, right? So we'll go into here. We're going to add a condition. So that if the actor is facing to the right, we are going to flip the actor left. Let's rename flip actor left. And then we're going to copy this. And in the else, we're going to, well, let's just paste this down here, and then we'll do it right here. We'll paste this event after, and then we're going to drag the, let's rename this actor right. And we're going to put this in the else condition. Oops, I should open up the else condition in order to drag it in. So what's happening now is that on every, we're going to set a tick. So every half a second, we're going to flip the player. So if the player is facing right, we need to flip them to the left. If the player is facing left, we need to flip them to the right. So we'll make them go right. And then here, we're going to add one. And let's see if this works. All right, so it should happen any time now. Soon. Come on. I guess it doesn't want to work, huh? Interesting. Let's add a paste an event before. Oops, I don't want to do that. I wanted to, if players facing right, let's do this. I want to do an event before, and we'll just do a message. And we're going to call this flip. And let's see if at least this timer is being triggered. Because I may have disabled it on the I don't think, maybe I took this off here. On update, call enemy move, actor 2. All right, let's try it this way and see if it's the timer. Maybe 0.5 is too long and I'm just being impatient. Let's see, come on. All right, flip. Flip, flip, okay. We set a different timer. There may be some other timer that I have here, but we'll do as 0.1. Let's disable, well, we'll move this here so that it happens on every tick, and then we can see at least if it's getting called for flip. All right, cool. It's just flipping the player. Oh no, is this one of those weird things where I can't pass an actor? Ugh, I hate this. The issue is that you can't pass a actor from one script to another script. The only one that it can get a reference to is the player. So let's take this and on enemy move. Why can't I access this? Actor direction. Here I can do it. You know what? I have a feeling it has something to do with this timer. Because watch, I bet you if I move this inside of here. There we go. All right, so this is an important thing that I've learned because I couldn't figure out why I couldn't pass the actor all the way down. And what it really is that whenever you use this on tick, this attached script to a timer, it no longer has a reference to any of the variables you sort of, or at least into the actor you pass into it. So right now, the only thing I can modify is going to be the player because he's a global actor. If I move this outside of here and outside of this timer, you can now see I can now change the enemy actor. So that's not fun. So let's do this. Let's delete this And then we're going to take out display flip. We're going to take this part out and we're going to paste it here. We're going to delete this event and we're going to insert an event we'll insert an event after, and we'll do wait, and we'll do 0.5 seconds. And now let's go in here and let's correct the enemy actor, enemy actor, enemy actor. All these are now correct. So if the enemy actor is facing right, we're going to make him go left. Then we're going to wait. Let's just wait 0.2 seconds, and then we'll flip him to the left. Now, I wouldn't want to do this in a regular game, because I think the performance, I don't know what actually happens when you tell something like this to wait. But as you can see, now he's flipping back and forth, and you can see that I'm also now taking into account that when you flip the sprite, because the 0, 0 position is the bottom left-hand corner of a sprite, when we flip him, we now actually have to move him back and forwards a tile. So, okay, now this works. Let's leave this as is for right now. And then what I want to do now is I want to go into our enemy init, and I want to flesh out this script find platform edges. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take this variable and we're going to set this to, let's just set this to something local, and we're going to call this p temp tile ID. And now we don't need to do this anymore. We can remove this, because what we're going to pass in, enemy script move or enemy init, let's actually do it here. We're going to add 1 when we pass this in. So we're going to take the I'm just trying to see if there's a better way that we can do this. And the temp ID will be edit mode. No. It will be this, which is p temp Actually, we don't need to know anything about this. So let's go back into our find platform here. I guess this doesn't have any local because it needs to be passed in. So never mind. Going back here, we are going to pass in variable D, which is going to be p temp tile ID. And now when we start this up, we should get this temp tile ID will be whatever tile is below him. So let's go and we'll try to look at the debugger and let's see what is actually happening with this variable to see if it gets changed. All right, so right now I'm not actually watching this variable, so let's go through here, and what we're looking for is, this is start X, start Y, and I thought that there would be a way of S1 set to position, temp 0. Now that's interesting because I don't know what is actually getting passed down. So let's take a look and make sure that we're doing this correctly. On init, see I'm passing in the edit mode, and that is completely wrong. What we're gonna do is let's rename this local to L temp tile ID. And if we rerun this, we should be able to look in the debugger now, and now we should find this L temp tile ID, which is local just to this individual actor. Here we go. This is the value right here. Let's go to watch, and now it's telling us that the temp tile ID value is 0. I'm just trying to think through here what we're doing. We're passing in the X, the Y, the temp value into this script enemy init. Script enemy init now takes all these arguments. It says that we store the actor, but we don't need to do this. We can delete this variable. And all we want to do is do p start y. And we're going to try to go down one tile. Now, I want to save this variable. Variable set to value. We're going to make this this variable c, and we're going to call this p temp actually temp y, and we're going to set this equal to math add the p start y, and we're going to add 1 to it. Then down here we can remove this, and we're going to do p temp ID, p temp tile ID, or no, we need temp y, p temp y. And I don't know why I'm putting an E in these, so let's just make this temporary. And now what I want to do is I'm going to take a look for this p temp y and see what this value is in the debugger, because something is not right, and I want to just figure out how to fix this. Because then what we're going to do is that after we figure out what the tile is below, let me go here and we're going to go look for temp tile map ID, temp start, temp 0, set to position. Did I not pass in? I must not be passing in something. Oh, I don't like that it like defaults to other variables. Like, that's sort of not good. Temp y. And now this will actually be a variable that gets created on this stack because this is attached to this enemy, and then it'll get passed down to the different layers of the script. So now we should have a temp y. So for some reason this temp y is returning 0 because our start x and our start y are not being set, because I'm an idiot and I deleted the actual code that did that. Set actor or position. Store actor position in variable. So we're going to take the actor. Well, you know what we could do? When we call this script, we could just pass in. We actually don't need this. We're going to take. Nope, I lied. We do need it because there's no. Wait, property. Oh, here we go. Okay. This is what we want. We want the A selector actor 2. We want this actor's tile X, and we want this actor's tile Y. We want the actor's tile Y. And then what we're going to do is we're going to create a temporary tile and this. So now when we come back into our init, we're passing in the start x, the start y, and we're figuring out the temp y and this. And now what we can do is we take a look at this variable. We're going to set the temp y value equal to the start y plus 1. And then when we find the platforms, we're going to pass in this temp y, and then we'll deal with the code that goes back and forth to iterate over the platform. So let's run this and see if it actually gives us the correct x, y position for where the actor is, and it gives us the correct y position for the platform that it's standing on. All right, well, we're getting closer. This is 15, which is 2 down, so something got called twice. Let me go here and let's do I guess these are the 2 variables that we're doing. Now the real question is, why is this temp start 1, why is this getting incremented twice? So let's go back here. I'm just trying to make sure there isn't something here that I'm missing. So script enemy init, we're going to pass in the tile X, the tile Y, the temporary tile. Now I have like a weird theory right now that this actually isn't doing anything. Let me disable this event for a second. I don't know if maybe it's just the way that this 0, 0 is calculated, but maybe it's going to give us the tile below. So we'll give that a try. All right, we'll go back to our debugger, and now what we're looking at is temp y is 1, which is incorrect. So that theory is wrong. Let's enable this event. Let's add 1 to the temp start y. And I feel like I struggle. Like, this is just, I'm not good at this visual coding stuff, and I can't keep track of where everything is. So I'm a lot better off when I can do all this stuff by hand. All right, it's telling us the temp value y is 15, but that would put it right there. So let's move him up a second and see if there's something that I'm missing. All right, so now the position is 14, and this should be returning a different value. Let's see why this is not returning that. So on find platform, we pass in the start X and the start Y. Let's delete this event for a second, because this is what's incrementing it by 1. Let's go back to here, and we'll leave this as 1, and let's move this to here. So now we should at least see the correct values. I knew I was incrementing it somewhere. The problem you have to keep track of, the problem you have to really keep track of is that when you pass down a variable, if you modify that variable anywhere in the call stack, so it could be a script at the very end or a nested script or something like that, it's going to modify that variable all the way back up the chain, because each variable is fixed and they really just sit on the top of the stack, so they're like global in essence, but we're like sort of passing them around. So all you're doing is passing a reference to it. You're not actually, although I do think that there is a way to pass in just a copy of the value instead of an actual reference to the variable, so you can do some manipulation on it, but we can look at that later. So okay, now we're cooking. We're looking at tile 4 and 4. So the real question is, when this guy starts up, Why are we not able to get the correct meta tile? Now I have another, if I look at my tile editor, I have a get brush tile at position that I might be able to use as well. Let's set this to temp ID. Let's set this to variable start X. We'll set this to variable start Y. Let's disable this. And let's see if my custom, the tile map, like the custom thing that I use in the tile map editor, let's see if that returns the tile, because if that's the case, I'll just use that system, because what will wind up happening is that it'll at least allow me to, whoa, what's this going on here? I guess it doesn't like my get brush tile at position. I wonder if that has something to do with the fact that you can't, cool. It does not like that. Let's disable this. Let's do get meta tile, and I'm gonna hard code this right now. Let's do 414. Oh, see, here we go. So we can pass in a value and either reference to the variable or a value to it. So right now we're going to pass in a reference because we want to set this, and we're going to call this p temp tile ID. And then in the init, we want to make sure that we're passing in the correct thing. So we're going to pass in this p temp tile ID, and let's see if it just gives us a number other than 0. Like, I know this stuff works. I don't understand why, like, maybe it's just I'm not paying attention or something, but this should return a value. Let's try this. We're going to go to 2, 3. And let's see if it'll give us a value for this. There's either two things are happening. Either we're not getting a tile back at this position, or it's just not being saved to the variable correctly. So this 0 is a little sus. Let's go to a variable 11. And we'll try this globally to see if we can, maybe there's something that's getting passed in and I'm just like too deep into a script. Let's see if just setting it to something global will show us a better result. There should be a variable 11. Yeah, see, variable 11 is returning 3. Which I don't think honestly is the correct thing either, but so now let's go to 414. And this should return, if we go to the meta tile set, this should return 0, 1, 2, 3. This should return 4, 5, and 6 are the platforms. So this is just returning 3 as well. I'm just going to try doing something else here. I'm going to just try putting this on here. I want to paste this event before. We're going to try to see what this is, and then I'm going to put a breakpoint right here. It's funny, like I wake up and I have like these ideas and I'm like, all right, this day it's gonna be easy. I know how to do this. I know what I need to do. I'm just gonna break it down in my head. We're gonna go piece by piece, and then nothing works. All right, so this is giving us back 4. So what I'm confused about is why, when we move this down the chain, do we start losing the value? So let's copy this and let's disable this breakpoint. Let's disable this event. And now let's go to here and we're going to insert this before. I think I know what might be the problem. I bet you that the enemy is getting called before the tile map loads. So when we try to get the tile map, I bet you that's why we got that crash too. Like if we set a breakpoint here and we go back to this and we set a breakpoint, let's re-enable this and let's set a breakpoint here. I bet you the actor gets hit first. Because my theory, so my theory on this is that the GB Studio initializes the actors first, then it does the scene. Here, so we have script, enemy, init. Yep, bingo. And then we now have that. So, okay, so that's a tad bit problematic because what winds up happening is that we don't have any way now of getting the meta tiles before the scene loads. That's a weird little race condition. I wonder what we could do is, I wonder if we can paste an event before. Oh no, wait, I don't want to do that. I want to delete this. Let's see if we insert an event before, wait, and let's just wait like half a second. So that wait half a second didn't do anything. Let's just wait 2 seconds. Okay, so a good thing to learn is that wait actually doesn't let other things run in the background. So yeah, that was kind of useless. This delete event. Let's see if there's something I'm missing on GB Studio. Initialize actors after level load. On a script of the scene they are in. So let the actor go to the on. All right, actors also have an on-init script. Actors also their own on-init script, but the scenes on-init script is always executed after individual actors. On update scripts, if you need code to run continuously after a scene loads, use the on update script attached. All right, so now we need to come up with we have to figure out the balance here. Do we want to hard code the actors. I'm trying to think through this. What we could do is we could what we could do is that when an actor initializes, it just disables itself, which might actually be what we need to do anyways, because I think we're going to have to put all the actors off screen. So what I'm trying to think through, what I don't want to do is an on update that checks to see if it's been initialized or if the scene is fully loaded, because it's just overhead. I think this is the only way that we can do this. I think what we need to do is insert an event before. We need to disable deactivate actor. All right, and then we're going to delete this here. And when we load up, we're going to automatically disable the actor. We'll leave this enemy move, which is fine. And then I wonder if this actually, let's see, since I disabled the enemy on a init, let's see if it actually stops the flipping. And then we'll go from there. All right, so since we've deactivated him, he's no longer running. We can also remove the, from here, let's remove the breakpoint. So we'll do this is the initial setup. This configures the editor and gets all that going. This was the game loop. But what we want to do before this is let's insert an event before. We're going to make this a group. And we're going to rename this enemy init. And let's delete this event. So now we have a loop for, but we don't have, I don't think there's a way that we can actually loop for the number of, there's no arrays in this. Let's delete this event. So what we're going to do is we're going to call script and we're going to pass it in. We're going to do the enemy init, and we're going to pass in the property of the actor's X. Huh. Now this is interesting. Because what's happening, oh my God, I think there's no way around it, but I think I have to go back to where I have all the enemies hard coded and I keep track of their X and Y positions and I do all these variables globally, because there's no way to pass in a reference. Let me see something here. When we call the script enemy init, set see, there's no way to set a actor property. Basically, the problem is that since we can't initialize the enemy before, well, okay, all right. I think the thing to do is that I think what I think the direction I'm going in is overcomplicating it. I think the idea of being able to figure out the start and the end of the platform and all that stuff actually is going to be more overhead. So I want to change this up a little bit. And I also do not want to be doing this for every single one of these enemies. So let's just delete this. I think what I'm going to focus on is on the enemy move. So if we do this, we go to on update, we're just going to call enemy move, and we're going to pass in this actor. So let's remove this for right now, so that we always activate the enemy's always active. And then what we're going to do is we're going to look one tile ahead. If the tile ahead is a platform, we're going to move to the next tile. And I'm going to see if using the move to actually makes a difference. So we have the script enemy move. We have script enemy move. I want to actually delete this. I want to delete this event so I don't get confused. Enemy move. Script find platform edges. We're going to delete this. We don't need this either. And then we're going to focus on the enemy moving. So on every update, the enemy is going to call this. And what we're going to do is I want to actually see what happens if we let's set an event before. Let's we want the P enemy actor. We're going to set we want to set it to a property. We actually want to do math. We want to take the actor's X. Let's insert event before speed. Actually, we're going to do this here. We're going to move this all the way to the bottom. If it would let me drag it all the way to the bottom. And then let's delete this because we don't need this anymore. What we're going to do is when we're going to set a target X. And what we're going to do is we're going to check to see once we get to target X, then we're going to decide if we need to move forward again or we need to flip. So whenever we flip, we want to set the new target to value, and we're going to want to set the value to variable A I'm just trying to think through. I don't remember all the wait, I want this to go here, here. Wait, what did I oh, the enemy actor moved to. I didn't move it all the way down. There we go. Okay. What I want to do is I want to make this, I want to move this to variable A equals 0. I don't know what I'm thinking about here. I want to do, we're going to do this as a parameter next X position. And when we flip the enemy, we are going to reset the flip. How does this work? All right, let's do this first. Let's disable this event and let's disable this event. And what we're going to do is on every frame, we want to see what is the tile below the enemy. So get meta tile at position. We are going to set it to the property of actor A and the property. Actually, we want to make this. Fine, we'll just do it this way. Property Y. And we're going to call this P temp tile ID. Actually, we're going to do this as P next tile ID. And as we walk through, what we're going to do is let's insert an event before. What I'm just trying to think about is, like, I don't know if I really want to be, I don't know if I want to be adding 1 to this number every single time I run this tile at position. But maybe it won't be so bad because we'll only do this once we, yeah, let's do it this way. Okay. We're going to set this to math. We're going to add 1 to this, and we're going to set this to math, and we're going to add 1 as well. And now what should wind up happening is that we're going to get the next tile ID. Let's go back into our update, and we're passing in the next tile ID. We're going to pass this in as temp tile ID. I'm just thinking to myself where I need to I'm going to delete this. We're not using this. Let's delete this. Let's delete this. And we're going to call this next. Oh, we're going to call this is a local next tile ID. All right, let's run this and let's just check the debugger and see what's going on. Because what we're looking for is that it's now going to go 1 down and 1 over, and it's going to give us this ID. Now this is 4, so this should be 5. And for right now, we're just going to manually move them around to double check what's getting sent. So the next tile ID right now is set to 0, which is false. That should not be 0, but let's move him over 1 and see if this makes a difference, and then we'll just keep testing from there. Still 1. Why is this happening? We're just going to do we'll just write test here, and I just want to see if this is actually getting called correctly. All right. Ooh, look at that. That's a new one. I don't think I've ever kernel panicked a Game Boy before. I was supposed to send this picture to a friend. I've really bad luck with I have really bad luck with computers and electronics in general. So, all right. I bet you this is getting called way too much, so it does not like this idea. Let's delete this. I also want to do this. Let me copy this. I want to delete this whole thing. What I want to do is I'm just going to build this on the actual enemy for right now, just so I can get these events going, because I don't think that they're working correctly. I want to now, let's try this. Actor, move to, we're going to set the actor, we're going to take, let's see, if actor at position, let's do on init, here, delete this. Let's save actor, store, actor, position in variables. So let's change this to be local start X. Local start Y. All right, so at least when we hold on, I'm going to delete everything and we're just going to focus on this piece by piece. I mean, I think this is the unfortunately the easiest way. I say easy with air quotes. The easiest way for me to go through and debug this is really for me is to go line by line and just try to figure out what is breaking where. So we have start X and we have start Y. We are at 513. Let's look over here. And what's happening is that we are here, 513. This is the correct position. So let's save that. Also, since I'm not doing anything else, might as well just make this larger. So, okay, so we are now here. So now the goal is that on update, we want to take the current XY position. Here's what we want to do. I want to go back here. I'm going to rename this. We're going to make this temp X, and we're going to make this temp Y. And also, when we set this, yeah, we'll leave this as this. Okay, fine. So we're going to take these variables and we're going to set them to this temp X and temp Y. Now, on the next thing we're going to do, we want to see if actor is at position. And we want to look at variable temp X and variable temp Y. And let's just create a message real quick saying stop. I saved my work just in case we do another kernel panic. All right, so this temp X and temp Y is still correct, but one thing I've noticed is that we're not actually at this location, even though technically we should be at this location. Am I doing anything funny with this? I'm not adding anything to it. These are all local to this. Let's do insert event before, or actually, let's just do in the else, move actor to, and let's do variable temp X, variable temp Y. And let's see if it actually does anything. Well, he doesn't move, that's for sure. He also doesn't register that he's actually arrived. Wait, actually, I don't want to do that here. I want to do it here. Let's see if we can just... I'm going to delete... I'm going to copy this event, and I'm going to delete it. I'm also going to just delete all this stuff over again, and let's go back to init. And what we're going to do is we're going to set it up so that it's automatically moving to the next tile. So let's paste this event after. Oops. I want to paste this event after, and we're just going to take, once we have the temporary X, we're going to add 1 to it and move this actor to it, and it's going to be self. So let's see if we can actually get the enemy just to move forward by 1 tile. This is not how I thought I'd be spending my morning. I figured this would be a pretty quick thing to implement when I got around to it, but he moved. And on update, let's see if actor at position temp X temp Y message stop. As I realized in deleting all that other stuff, I wound up just deleting all the logic for flipping my enemy back and forth, but I don't get it. Why is this not... Why is this guy not moving? 4. Now I wonder if move 2 is bound by... I wonder what makes, if it move... See, he's automatically moved to this position and has stopped now. But I don't know if this... Let's set this to like the slowest, and well, I guess what I'm trying to figure out is whether move is actually run independent or not. Meaning that if I call this, is it going to execute and move until it gets to that position? Yeah, look at that. It froze everything until the enemy got to that location. So that move 2 is a blocking event. So that means that this is not going to work. We're going to delete this event, and on update, actor move to say variable temp X, variable temp Y. Bitwise math add +1. On init, we get the temporary X and Y. Here, we're going to tell the actor to move. On every frame, we're going to move to that position +1. I think what's going to wind up happening is I'm just going to have to go back. There we go. Oh, wait. He moved and then he stopped. Oh, well, I only moved him one. I wonder why he disappeared. That move to the next tile should just... Where did he go? What's going on? Why does he just disappear like that? I guess maybe it just increments so much that it... right now, I'm just doing some random poking at this system because I want to understand what actually is a blocking event and what's not. We know that wait is a blocking event. It didn't do anything. Let's do this the hard way. We're going to move him from 5 to 20. We'll just move him at a regular speed. What I really want to see is whether the move is actually being broken up over frames. Like, so the Game Boy only has a certain amount of processing power. There we go. So let's set its space thing to half. Let's delete this and let's just see what happens when he gets to 20. So it doesn't seem to be any effect. I didn't see any effect on the player moving. Let's make this 18. What I don't understand is why does he disappear? Let's try to do this. Let's save or store actor position and variables. We're just going to store its X and Y values, and I just want to watch this as it goes and see where I want to know what happens to it if like its X and Y position gets all screwed up or something when it finally gets to that end position. So it still thinks it's X and Y position. No, wait, it just did something. I just saw it just switch to 9. It still thinks its X and Y position are... Store this... Let's disable this for a second. Let's try this a different way. Let's insert an event before, and let's... I'm just trying to see what I can do to move this. Launch project or projectile. Actor move cancel move. sets the position of the actor, causing it to instantly move to this new location. Or actor move an actor to a new position. GB Studio. Actor disappears after move to. Actors not appearing in game. Actors with movement disappear off screen. Actor, do you have causing a... Let's just do this. Set actor position to math. Add. We'll do this as the property of the self actors X plus 1 and the property of Y. And then we'll just, as we do this, we're going to move the actor 1 pixel. Well, technically it's going to move it 1 tile per frame, so it's going to go really fast. I just want to see if anything changes with the temp X and temp Y. Oof. Let's do this as pixels. And just disappears off the face of the earth. Why its temp X went to 0, 13. It's beyond me. Tile X. Pixel X. Okay, that's one reason why. And we need to make this pixel Y. Let's see this. I'll at least move it 1 pixel at a time. There we go. And what I didn't watch though was what happens here. We'll move this over once it compiles. Yeah, look at that. It doesn't really update this. Self actor Y. Let's see if the pixel value changes at least. .104. I saw it go to 193 or something. Now it's 0. I don't think you can actually move things in point increments. Why is nothing working today? I make so much more progress when I'm not streaming, which is ironic. All right, so he's moving. But technically he should be moving more because the 104, and 104 isn't even like the end of the screen. It's 144 pixels wide. Let's do this. I'm going to insert a break. I'm going to set a breakpoint here. And I'm just going to move this 1 frame at a time, and I just want to see what the hell happens. So this is our initial frame. We see that we're at 5. We're going to go here, and then immediately, somehow, it goes all the way to 104. And it should be... Oh, F8. Do I even have F8? I don't think I have F8 mapped on my keyboard. Nope, I don't have F8 mapped. All right. So I wonder if something is corrupting this. So let's just set these to 2 different variables. And then we'll go look for them in the debugger. All right. So something else somewhere is messing up that local, that pixel X and pixel Y. But you can see the local 2 is now incrementing correctly. So I don't know what's corrupting this. All I know is that store the self position of X and Y. But init should only get called once. And on update, all right, let's enable this. What we're going to try to do is we're going to try to take the actor's current position of tile X. We're going to add 1 to it. And we're always going to keep this as the property of tile Y. All right, what I'm trying to do here is get it to where now it'll just keep moving like 1 tile at a time forward. And we can delay that later on. I just want to see if this actually works. And then we should be able to track the local 2 and local 3 to see what those variables are. All right, as you can see, he's now moving 1 pixel at a time and is continuing to move off screen without screwing anything up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete this because I don't think we even need this anymore. And I think on update, what we're going to do is we're going to delete this, and on every frame, I think what's happening here. Let's do this. Let's set a breakpoint here because I want to see if it's actually. I want to see if what it does is it moves to 1 tile and then moves on to the next frame, or if this is being split up. So I just saw him move. He moved to 1 tile and stopped. Moved to 1 tile and stopped. All right, so the good news is that on each frame, so what it looks like what's happening is that on each frame, what's happening is that when we tell it to move to the next tile, it moves to that tile, and then the next update, or then it calls the next part of the update. I don't know if we're incurring any additional overhead by calling self move to constantly. So that's something we'll have to check out later. In the interim though, what we can do now is we can now do this. So let's set temp X and temp Y so we can see what this is. Although we don't even need to do this. I was just doing this more for debugging. Let's insert an event before, and we're gonna call this event, we wanna do, we wanna get meta tile at position. And we're going to take the property. Let's do some math here. We're going to take the property, the actors tile X, and we're going to add 1 to it. And we're going to take the math add property tile Y plus 1. And we're going to set this now to local temp 2, which will give us what the tile is at each iteration. So what will happen is that it's going to move to that position, then it's going to check the next tile, and then that will set the event for what needs to happen next. So we're going to get here. We can see that this is set to local 2. For some reason, that's only showing 0, 0. I don't know why it's not doing what it's supposed to be doing. Does it not have access to this value? Does it not like doing addition? Let's hard code this. We're at, this is 14. Let's just make this 14 and see what happens. All right, so it's now getting the right position. 5, 6, 0, 0, 0. Okay, let's move him over here. Now, what I want to do is we're hard coding this. I don't understand why the property of Y math add 1 doesn't work. My theory is that you really can't do this kind of addition when you're passing it in ahead of time. I think you have to manually do the addition. Yeah, look, see, it doesn't work. But if we did something like this, like let's store the position, then let's store the positions tile, right? And then we're going to insert an event before, increment by 1. We will set this to Y, which will bring the Y down. We'll remove this addition, and we'll just do an if. If variable compared with this, we'll just do nothing. Because what I want to do is I want to add a breakpoint here, and I want to remove the breakpoint here. So what I'm trying to do now is just break this up into pieces. What wasn't working before was adding 1 to the actor's position manually. Well, now I'm just doing it manually. So, okay, so now we're at 5, right? So this is the next tile, which is 5. The next one should be 6. The next one should be 7, 8, 9. We're doing something wrong here. Local 2. Was I not looking at the right variable? Here we go, local 2. So we have 0, 0, 0, nothing is working. Which is so weird to me because this temp Y value let me store this in 3. In 3, and let's see if there's something that's corrupting it. Oh, wait. Hold on a second. I'm an idiot. I see what I did wrong here. This needs to be a variable temp y. And let me just duplicate. Let me copy this event. Let me paste. Oops. Let me paste this event before. We're going to do the same thing for temp y. We'll increment it by 1 by 1. And we're going to set this value to temp. We need to set this to a variable. Temp x, temp y, we'll get this value, and then, okay, here we go. So now what we're doing is we're just increasing the tile over by 1 and down by 1, and that will give us what the next position is. All right, now we're cooking. So now we're at 5 is going to be the next tile, 6 should be the next tile, and then 0 would be the tile after it. So if what we want to do here is we want to test to see if local two, so something is corrupting. No, it wasn't corrupting. I just didn't have the right variable. I wasn't setting it to the right place. So that was on me. Actually, what we should do is before we start getting into this mess, I want to disable this event and disable this event. And I want to retest to see if math actually works here. Add 1. And math, add 1. All right, so I just don't think I was paying attention to the right variables because now it's working. So we don't need to do this. We don't need to do this. And I'm willing to bet you any amount of money that we don't even need to do this anymore up here. Property tile Y. Let's disable this. And now let's see what happens. All right, and I'm gonna wrap this up. Let's see, local 2 is 0. All right, so we did need it doesn't like it when we do this, which is weird. I guess it doesn't like getting a reference to the property and setting it to local 2. Let me try setting this to like local 3 or something, and then we'll go find that in the debugger. Nope, it isn't working. So if we go back, let's undo. And let's try it this way. It would appear as if we cannot take the current value of the player's tile and add it to 1 while we're trying to do. Now, I think what's actually winding up happening is that I think it's this get meta tile at position. I don't know, maybe it's not able to get a reference to the player. Like now, if we take a look, we're setting this to local 2. We're looking at local 2. 5 is our next tile. 6 is our next tile. And then 0 is our next tile. So let's do this. If local 2, temp x, temp y, let's call this next. Whoops. This is L, next tile ID. And we're going to see if next tile ID equals 0. We're going to send a message that says flip. And this is where I'm going to call it a day for streaming. So let's take a look and see what happens. All right. So we now get to this, and it tells us to flip, and now we can flip our person around, and there we go. All right, well, thanks for watching. I'm going to be back tomorrow. I think I'm just going to do the rest of this coding on my own because it's just too much to, I don't know, for some reason whenever I stream, like nothing wants to work, and I'd rather just like plow through this. So I think what I'm going to do today, as long as ChatGPT is down, is I'm going to finish up the enemy logic, get all that working, and then tomorrow is supposed to be technically my last day in this game, but that's not happening. So what we'll do tomorrow is we'll try to implement the rest of the tile map logic. So all right, thanks for watching, and I will see you tomorrow.